Hey y'all, I'm out today on this beautiful spring day. Yesterday was the first day of spring. We've had spring-like weather for just a little bit lately. Oh my goodness, the gnats are out there so bad. But anyway, I've got a trip coming up soon that I'm planning on taking my hammock, my backpacking hammock this time. And I haven't used this thing in a year or two, and I'm going to set that up today, make sure I have all the right pieces and make sure I don't miss anything, and also make sure I remember how to set it up properly. And I thought while I was doing that I would give y'all a little look-see of it, because I don't think I've ever done a video on this hammock. But anyway, this is the Warbonnet Blackbird original. This is not the extra long version. I didn't need that because I'm not that tall. They do have it for taller people if you're interested. But anyway, Warbonnet Blackbird original, and then I've also got the Warbonnet, I think this is called a mountain fly tarp that I'm going to be using. And the suspension that I'm going to be using with the Warbonnet, the Blackbird, is made by Superior Gear, and it uses these buckles here and straps. Anyway, I will show you all of that here in a minute, and I will go over the features and things that I like about it. Okay, let's do the tarp first. And what I have is some, I can't remember the name of this line, but it's a pretty strong line. I'll try to put that on the screen if I can. It's been several years since I bought it. But anyway, and I'm using just little tiny micro locks, carabiners. And I'll just clip it, go around this tree and clip back to the line. And go to the other tree. And on the other end of this, on the other end of the line, I have this movable, gosh, it's made by Night Eyes, I think. Anyway, it's a little, I can move this up and down the line, and when I go around that other tree and attach back to it, I use this to tighten it up, or to hook it. All right, now, see these two things dangling off here? That holds the tarp, and that's just put on there with prusik knots. It's just some more of this line here, just made into a loop and then attached by using a prusik knot. You can move it back and forth as needed. I have the, like I said, this is the Warbonnet, I believe it's mountain fly tarp. I have it in a mesh snake skin just to kind of keep it all together. But I'll hook one, I'm using some more of these hooks on this. It's an S-beaner. I'll hook one to this prusik loop, and then I'm going to hook the other to the other prusik loop. Alright, before I undo the tarp, I'm going to go ahead and hang the hammock. Just makes it a little bit easier working with the hammock. Not having the tarp over me, I don't have to duck. Let me go ahead and hang the hammock, and then we'll get back to the tarp. I've got the two straps from Superior Gear. Now these carabiners, I got these off Amazon. Looks like it says Sahara Sailor. Make sure if you use carabiners for this, you get some that are rated for the weight. Not just any carabiner will do. So, as soon as I get that back in place, take the end of the strap with the loop. We'll put this carabiner on that. Go around the tree. Whoops. I'm going to go up pretty high on this end because this is going to be the foot end. And I'm just going to clip back to the webbing. Not sure how long I'm going to need that, but I'm running that on out. Let me go to the other end. Alright, so head in usually and lower than the foot end. This is in a, it's a double open-ended sack that it's stored in. I know that this red end is going to be my head end because of my red hair. That's how I remember that. So I'm going to go ahead and hook up the foot end. Hook up the foot end. And then I'll stretch out the other end and hook it up. Now on these buckles, I always try to keep the strap, don't fall out. I always try to keep the strap flat going toward the hammock. And it's got this, hope you can see this from that far, this hook here. Just take the end loop on the hammock and go into that like that and slide it in there. Then you can make adjustment with this as needed. Let me get it strung up and then we'll adjust it. And with the stuff sack, you can keep it at either end. You want to be sure when you're doing this that you pay attention to where your fly is, your tarp, because you don't want this to be out from under it on either end. What I do want to check here is how good that feels as far as laying in it. Before I go and undo this, because like I said, once this is deployed, then it comes down here and everything you do underneath it, you're stooping. So I'm gonna go ahead and check out how this is laying before deploying the tarp. Glad to see it's still in decent shape. It's been kept in the house. It should be all right. Oh, that actually feels pretty good. The way this blackbird hammock is made, let me bring you a little closer. Let you see what I'm looking at here. The way this hammock's designed, they created they put a little bit of extra fabric toward that foot end so that you can put your feet up in there, and it helps to give you more of a flatter lay, more like being in a bed. And you sleep a little bit diagonally in it. Now other hammocks, without the extra piece of material here for the feet, you would you wouldn't have that, but you would still be able to lie on a diagonal if it's wide enough and lay fairly flat. Now because this one is made this way, you can't swap ends and say put my head at that end and try to put my feet over here, because they don't have, the material is just not made to accommodate that. So this is I don't know if this is a left hand or a right hand, but either way, if you lay in here so the left side of your body is free out here to the zipper. Your zipper's on the left. Also, this hammock, of course, it's got the bug net to keep the bugs away from you, but it comes with a this bungee type cord, a thin stretchy cord that you can pull this out, and as you're laying there with your head on this end, it keeps this net up off the face, and you stake this out to the ground if you want. It's also the same on the other side. There's a little bungee. With this here, you pull this out and stake it to the ground, and what it does is it pulls out this extra piece of material here. That, when you're on the inside, allows this to be a pocket, sort of, or a shelf that you can stuff socks or a headlamp or anything you need to get to in the night into this little pocket right here by the head, so you can access it easily. Just loosen this snake skin. Do it all the way to one end. Doesn't matter which end. When I purchased this tarp, it was during, I think during COVID times. And so they didn't have, there was not a whole lot of material was being shipped out, and camouflage was all they had. I had a trip coming up and I needed to get a tarp because my other one got ripped by a cat. So this was all that was available in the camouflage, and it wouldn't have been my first pick, but it's been all right. All right, you'll notice it's got some pull-out points here. There are 4 of them, 2 on each side, that you can either pull out and attach another string to attach to a tree, or you can use like a spreader bar that would go over the top that would pull this out and give you a little more headroom. I don't carry spreader bars because it's extra weight. I have used a stick though and done that. All right, and on each of the corners where I'm gonna be staking it out, I've got some line, some good high visibility line, so I don't trip over it, hopefully. But I use a little piece of, I think this was a hair band that I cut down, made smaller, to hold that, to keep it from getting tangled up, because once you get all these lines up inside that snake skin, these lines get tangled up. So I just kind of curl it up, secure it with a hair band, keeps it all in check for me. Makes it a lot nicer when you're not having to untangle stuff. I also have on the end of this line, this is where I'll stake it out using that loop. I also have another piece of stretchy cord right here that I've hooked in that allows the tarp, it keeps tension on this line here. If it becomes loose or something happens, that will keep it from being too floppy. So I'm going to pull it tight until that little black stretchy cord is pulled out, stretched on each one of the corners. Each end has a door that you use a little, I got a little small carabiner here that clips to it. You can close them up if you don't want the wind in there, or if you're like in privacy, or you can open them up, just whatever you prefer. I generally like it closed because I really like my privacy. So that's what these smaller stakes are for. One for the door. Sometimes if I'm really close to a tree, sometimes I can just wrap this around the tree and clip back to it, see if it's got a mitten hook on the end. But a lot of times I have to use a stake to, that'll pull that door out. You just go around making any adjustments might need to be made to tighten it up. If you have a lot of wind, you don't want this thing flopping in the wind. Just tighten it up a little bit all the way around. Alright, this is the bungee I was showing you earlier that you can pull the mesh to keep it off of your face. Just pull that out, put a stake in the ground. And that helps. Can you see? That'll help keep that out of your face. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull this back one out, like I showed you earlier, and do the same thing. Just put a stake in the ground. Oof. See, this is the thing about hammocks that I did not like, is having to crawl around basically under the tarp. It becomes, for me, pretty annoying. But I do sleep much better in the hammock, honestly. Alright, now with me in the hammock, you can see with this pull out, let me zip this up. You can see how having that bungee pulling that out, that shock cord, how this keeps this lifted up off my face during the night as I move. This is that shelf that I was showing you. When I pull that other shock cord out, it creates this little shelf where I can just drop stuff over in here. Let me flip this tarp back so I can get the camera in here and show you a few more things. All right, with this hammock, you can buy all different configurations. I purchased the double layer bottom one because, for two things. I know mosquitoes can bite through the one layer. They can't quite get to the second layer, but my main purpose of buying the one with the extra layer on the bottom, now it's stitched right here, is to slip a sleeping pad in between here to give you a little more cushion, and also to cut back on the cold. This will keep you warmer. So you can either use a foam pad, slip in here. You just have to learn how to position, especially when you have a shorter one like I've got here. Position that just so that it covers your torso. Make sure you get it behind your shoulders. About like that. You kind of put it on that diagonal because your feet are going to be over that way. And you definitely want to have your shoulders covered. I usually use a longer one technically. I grabbed the wrong one to come out here with, but that does help with keeping from getting that cold butt syndrome, as I refer to it. Anyway, so that extra layer that you put that in there, if you just set it on top and then you lay down on it, as you move, it would shift. I've had that happen. It'll shift out of the way. So the point of this is to keep that still. That's really nice. Or you can use a blow-up pad, sleeping pad, and put in there. I'm using a Cedar Summit ether light pad. I've been using this for several years, and it is very nice. I have really, really enjoyed it. I've been tempted to get one of those little flex tail pumps, but honestly, this thing works great. It would kind of be redundant because I'm always going to have this. This is the sack that this is stored in. You don't want it too blown up, too tight, because it doesn't want to conform to the shape of the hammock. You want it, you know, barely blown up. You can make adjustments as to whatever fits you best, whatever feels best. And you'll know once you get it in here and start laying down on it. You'll know what it means. Now again, once you get this in here, you want to put it on a diagonal. So you want one corner of it up here on this left side, and you want the other corner on the right side up into that little area where the feet are supposed to go. It makes for a really comfy sleep time. Adds a little cush. Not that you really need it, but it's really way comfortable. Way comfortable. But my biggest thing is not for comfort, it's for keeping the cold from creeping through and making me cold. You don't realize when you're hanging in the air that you can get colder a whole lot easier. Because you've got the air blowing on it. It's just like with homes. If you're on a slab, you're generally going to stay warmer in the winter because you're not, you don't have that airspace below. If you have a house that's built up off the ground, if it doesn't have skirting or whatever around it, you have winds blowing on it, you know it's going to just rob you of your heat. So the whole point of you've got to have something underneath you in colder weather or cooler weather. It doesn't even have to be cold, just cooler weather to keep you from having what they call the cold butt syndrome. Some of the pros of using a hammock when you're backpacking is you have a place to lounge, before bedtime. A lot of times once you get to camp and you get everything set up, you just want to relax. And of course you can crawl in your tent and lay down, but sometimes it's a little stuffy in there. But this is nice. You can just flip that tarp back if you want to still see what everybody else is doing. And you can just sit back and relax like you're in your backyard hammock. So it's kind of like a chair in some instances. Another part of using a backpacking hammock is if you're on unlevel terrain, sometimes you get to camp and there's just not really a good place to put up a tent. It might be a lot of rocks or roots or just not enough flat area to sprawl out with your tent. This is where the hammock is really nice because you can just, it doesn't matter what the terrain is like below it. You just find 2 good trees, put it up and go. I've had to literally string this thing up on the side of a mountain at a really big slope, but it worked out. It was nice that I had this because had I not, I don't know where I would have slept that night. The only other flat spot, my friend that was with me, she put her tent on it, and it was a rock. So there just wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for a lot of places for 2 tents. The other pro to having or advantage of having a hammock backpacking is in the hot months of the year, the hotter months, the warmer months, you're going to stay cooler in this. I know, like with a tent, you get inside and it's almost like an oven at times, because it just kind of traps the heat in unless you open up all the doors. But this, because it's off the ground, and if you don't have it, if you don't need any insulating layer inside it or underneath it, it keeps you a lot cooler. Of course, in the wintertime, you go to the other extreme. You have to figure out ways to stay warm, and a tent technically would be the warmer option there. But if you had a really good underquilt, the problem with that is that adds weight. But it can be done. A lot of people do it. This is just more comfortable for me. The pressure points, I don't have the pressure points on my body like I do when I'm sleeping in a tent on a even on an air mattress. It's just, this mattress, I don't actually bottom out. Now, I have had some mattresses where I would bottom out and my hip would really hurt, my shoulder would hurt. I still have a little issue with pressure points, but it's not because of the mattress. It's just I've gotten to that age where laying in a position, especially on my side, it just it wears on me. But I have found in the hammock, I don't have nearly that kind of an issue. I don't know what it is, unless it's just because it's hanging and it gives. Maybe it just doesn't hurt nearly as bad on my joints and like my hips, my knees, my shoulders. So that's another pro. I think of some cons. The cons would be, like I said, in the wintertime you have to have extra insulation to keep you warm. A con would be depending on where you hike. If you in an area that you may not find trees, then you've kind of got a little trouble. I have learned how to set this thing up using trekking poles to hold the tarp up. Now it won't hold the hammock because they can't support my weight in that, but I've got it where I set this up sort of like a tent on the ground. It's hard to do though. One of the cons, I guess, of using the hammock over the tent is your gear. In the tent, I always bring my gear inside. It's protected from the elements. No bugs, mice snakes are going to crawl in it. It's inside my tent. I can get to anything I need to get to. This, I can't do that. But what I'll do is I'll put all the stuff that I know that I'll need during the night or first thing in the morning over here and on this shelf, which includes like a bottle of water, any medicines, Tylenol, stuff like that I may need in the night. I wear a contact, so I have to have a contact case and saline and all that. All that goes over here. Extra socks if I get cold, a hat, jacket, stuff like that. That will go in the shelf. Anything else that I don't need, that I can just leave in my backpack, I'll just stuff all that back in the backpack, and then I've got a carabiner on my backpack that I just hang on this, either the head end or the foot end of the hammock. Make sure it's underneath the tarp, especially if it's raining, and it just hangs there and it won't get wet, and no bugs or mice or snakes can crawl in it. All right, let's take it down. This video will help anybody who is considering using a hammock while backpacking. Hope maybe I answered all the questions you've had, and if not, drop me a comment below and I'll be glad to help you out in any way I can. I appreciate y'all joining me today. We'll see you later.